Hi, Malachy here from Glanbia Country Life. I'm here today to show you how to plant a wildlife encouraging hedgerow. It's for the Operation Biodiversity, and we'll show you how to plant. It's really quite simple, and hopefully it'll encourage you to plant trees and hedgerows at home. There's a few things to consider before you commence planting your hedging. One or two things are aspect, how windy and exposed the site is, and the pH of your soil, so if it's limey or acidic in nature. So Country Life have put together a bundle of hedging that are native Irish plants and are suitable for either acidic soils or for alkaline soils. So this will make your choice quite easy. And each bundle will contain about 40 plants or so, which is enough to do about 10 metres of hedging. So when you receive your plants, they will come in a polythene bag like this. And within that then will be your plants, which are tied up with just blue string, and they'll hold quite well in this polythene bag for up to about 10 days or so. And any longer than that, if you expect to keep them longer than that, you might put them into soil, dig a hole and put soil around them instead, and they'll keep much better for a longer period of time that way. So simple enough anyway. The plants are about 18 inches from above ground in height, and that's good. Taller plants catch the wind a little bit too much, and younger plants will actually be more sheltered, closer to the ground, and won't catch prevailing winds as easily. So what you do simply is just to remember to keep them moist at all times. So it's good to have the polythene bag with you, and that way then you can pull out the plants as you're planting as you go along. So before you commence planting as well, it's also important to control weeds, because weeds are a competition. Heavy grass and that are a big competition for young trees and hedging plants like these. So the best thing to do is, in my case here, what I've done anyway is I've trimmed off the heavy grass, and I've rotavated up this stretch of land here, which is only about 2 foot wide and about a foot from my posts and rails here. And that will encourage good growth basically in the springtime, and the grass and the weeds will be held in check. Now they will eventually grow again, and you have a choice then. If you want, you can trim the weeds down again, or you can control it in some other way. But the main thing is for the first year anyway to control weeds and grasses, and can be as simple as even just flattening them with your feet, just to walk along in the summertime and flatten the grass down so that these little guys with their leaves are exposed to the sun. And hopefully then you get plenty of rain in the summer and you have no further work to do after that. In the second year, it's a good idea to trim the white thorn and black thorn, the hedging plants, that part of the hedge, to trim them to make them bushy, and that way you get a good stock-proof hedge. It'll give you plenty of shelter, and it's very good then for nesting sites for wildlife. So I'll commence now in planting the white thorn that I have here. Just before now, we've put down some blue twine or baleen twine here. That will actually be for two uses. It'll guide me in a straight line and help me to keep things straight, because I have posts on my hair already. Also it'll be, later on it'll be a support for the young plants as well in strong winds and winter winds. So it has two uses here for me anyway. So I'll show you that little trick a little bit later. The white thorns and that will go in around 6 to 8 inches deep, and oak trees can be sometimes a little bit deeper because they have longer root systems. So I'm going to put the oak slightly in behind the white thorn here, so that when I come along with a hedge trimmer in the future, that the hedge trimmer, I can clip the white thorn and black thorn and those hedging type plants separate to the trees which I want to grow and become a big tree overhead. So that will also give me plenty of shelter and wildlife nesting sites as well. So the white thorn will be normally clipped in the second year from growth, and that will make it nice and bushy and extra thick, which is good for stock proofing and for shelter as well. So as you can see here, what I'm doing is I've dug about a 6-inch hole here, and that's approximately the same length as the roots on the white thorn here. So that gets popped in, and you can hold the tree a little bit and just put the clay around loosely. And there's a little trick I learned when I was young, which I'll show you a little bit later, a close-up of. So basically I put them in loose like this, and then later on we angle the white thorns at roughly a 45-degree angle. And what that means then is, if the plant was upright like this, the plant would normally just grow from the tips and get taller. And so what I'm going to do here in this case is I'll show you that we'll plant them at a 45-degree angle. And what happens is the shoots will grow all along the whole length of the white thorn plant. So that means you get a bushier plant or a bushier hedge down low, which actually is much better for stock proofing and good for the wildlife as well. So I'll show you closer with that in a little while. Now I have the white thorn in and it's still in the upright position and not firmed in yet, but I just wanted to show you this technique with the 45-degree angle planting and then the string as well, so that'll be a support for them then as they grow. So basically all it is really is simply you place your foot around the plant itself and you're holding the tip of the plant at the angle that you require. So this is basically firming in the plant so that the soil is better in contact with the soil, with the roots of the plant, and also then the wind rock, so that the wind won't drag the plant and make kind of little circles around each plant, you know. So that's it really. So it's quite simple really. So now at this stage then I have the white thorns all firmed in, just with my foot at the 45-degree angle, and then this is my little trick then for supporting them. So I put the baling twine or the blue twine down on these little posts here. You could use bamboos or so. I have them about 10 metres apart or 30 feet long, and that'll give good support. If they're any further apart, what would tend to happen is the wind would move the twine and sag in the middle, so roughly around 30 feet or 10 metres is plenty. So I've just tied off the string, so I have one twine up one side on the left hand side and the return string on the other side, and I've tied them off quite taut, and then you'll see that they come up then, so roughly around 8 inches from the ground is a good enough support for the plants, so that when you get strong winds in the summer and the autumn like that, these will actually support the plants and encourage them to grow. The best time for planting and doing this kind of a job like planting bare root plants is between October and February, the end of February every year, and if you go into the spring too much, there's really not enough time for the roots to grow and settle in before summer commences, so the plants don't do as well. Another thing to consider as well is the protection from browsing animals like cattle and sheep and horses and such like that. So the idea really is to use whatever fencing method that you choose to use. I have barbed wire here in this situation, and the plants are actually about 2 feet from the wire, so hopefully cattle and animals can't reach through and pull the white thorns, because that can be a big issue if they're getting pruned the whole time by browsing animals. So in the second year then you can prune the tips of these to make them nice and bushy, and then you'll have good stock-proof plants. So now the second stage then of planting the bare root hedge is to put in some proper trees. These are oak trees that I have here, and they're about 2 foot high, which is about the ideal height now for young trees to go in, because they don't have as many demands on our systems as such like a bigger tree would have, you know, so for water and food and such like that. So really one tree per every 10 metres would be plenty for an oak tree. If there are things like alders or maybe birch trees, you can put them in a little bit closer, and other people then choose to put them even closer again, say every 5 metres or so, and then expect to thin them out in the future. So that way you can choose your best tree. So the oak trees generally have a straight root system like this one here, and these are little baby roots on the side, so usually these have to go down reasonably deep. And as I said before about trimming this hedge, the white thorn hedge will be trimmed in the future, and I hope that the oak tree won't be trimmed at all, to leave it to grow into a proper tree. So I've just firmed in the tree now. That's quite important to stop the wind from rocking it, and if you wish you can put a little bamboo, perhaps with a little marker tape or something like that, so that you can see this tree in the summertime and then keep weeds and things down. So now we've popped in the last of the hedging here, and so all you need to consider from now on is just really to enjoy the hedging that you put in, and thanks very much for joining in the Operation Biodiversity.